Good morning, everyone. How's it going? Thumbs up is our general answer for how's it going. If you have something a little bit more specific that you're like, about there, it's fine. You can do that. I'm still going to pretend that you're there. But nice to see everyone. I'm glad you're here. We have a pretty exciting class, and we're going to ideally be nice and sore tomorrow and the next day if we do this right. So that's our goal, is to have nice sore muscles for a few days after this. Sound good? Excellent, 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 excellent. Welcome new folks, welcome people that have been here week in, week out. And we are looking at a few things from a safety perspective. That open, please. Thank you very much. Making sure that there are no obstacles around us that we might come down on. If we have any furniture or corners of walls or anything near us, we want to make sure that we have a good approximate proximity of, or a very precise proximity of where those are, so that we don't impact them on our way to the ground. One thing that we really recommend is that at the beginning of your practice that you take some time and do some walkovers and do some things that will establish your parameter and know where your safe exits are as you're going through your practice. And so that's something that you can do as part of your warm-up before class starts each week. Aside from that, just want to remind everyone that as most of us are working without spotters, that we just are conservative on what variations we take, as I will be offering some things that might not be appropriate for everyone. Just be very conservative with your partners at the onset and say, hey, when we come across something that doesn't feel like it's right for us, let's just say not yet to each other, and we know we're going to modify around whatever complication Lux and Sam and Chris are asking. So just everyone, we want to make sure that we are not overloading our healthcare system by bringing people to the hospital. We want to make sure that we are not a part of that problem, and we're going to practice nice and safely, right? Excellent. Our three basic hand gestures, maybe four, our three most used hand gestures are going to be thumbs up, which means I have a question. So just cover up your camera if you have a question, and then we'll call on you. And you can hit your space bar to unmute yourself and ask your question, and then hit your space bar again to mute yourself, and we will answer that question. And then if you need to see just a demo again, rather than wasting time in asking to ask a question, just do this sign right here. And that says, we want to see the demo again. And we'll just show the demo again. No need to wave us down for that one. And then when we go to practice, we are often bringing our hands to clap, which is completely optional. All of it's optional, but that's our last hand gesture that we'll be using. Aaron, don't pretend like you don't love it. And Jill, will you stop whispering things in his ear that make him shake his head? It's really like, it's transparent, let me say, Jill. It's very transparent. And I don't mean that you're a transparent, I mean that I can see through you. With that, looking around, I'm seeing a lot of approval from everyone. Everyone is shaking their head yes. I'm seeing smiles all over the place. So I think we're ready to go. If we start moving into something and you're like, I didn't warm up my shoulders well enough for this, come down. Warm up whatever part of your body you need before you jump back in. Fair? Excellent. The way that this class works, for those of you that are new, I'm going to talk for the first 45 minutes to an hour, and y'all are going to practice while that happens. This is Sam, for those of you that don't know Sam yet, and this is Chris, for those of you that don't know Chris yet. They're going to not only be super valuable in their voice, but also they will be doing a lot of the physical demonstration. So if you get lost somewhere along the way, we're not going to show demos for these things, but you can reference what they're doing to at least get on page with where we are. And if they're doing a variation that seems like, fuck no, that's way too complicated and dangerous for us, connect more parts of your bodies. They'll do a lot of things without hands, so you can always regrip hands and then do those moves in unison with the rest of the class. So you can always check on the screen for reference. Any questions before we begin? Great. Everybody, we'll start in a front plank. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And in that front plank, we're going to find a range of motion. That front plank range of motion is going to be rotating as far to the left, rotating as far to the right, bending the knees as deep as we can and extending them all the way. And then we can also take this into a side star and start to get rotations on our individual legs. So as we rotate into side star on one side, bases, you can internally and externally rotate your leg. And we can even take our free foot and bring it to the shoulder of our flyer and help get a little bit more internal rotation by assisting with our second foot on our flyer's shoulder. On our external rotation, we can hook our flyer's bottom leg and get a little bit more external rotation by leveraging our flyer's bottom leg. And so we can work that on both sides, internal, external rotation. And you can add in any of your bends as you desire there as well. Excellent. From there, we're going to go from front plank to shoulder stand. In this first shoulder stand, we want to establish the base's shoulders. So bases, you can give a little bit of movement with your shoulders. That could be a little bit of even shrug, a little bit of rotation. Flyers, this is our opportunity to study the foundation below us. As the rotation happens, one arm might feel more supportive than the other, and we can shift our weight slightly onto that. As it happens, rotating the other direction, we may have to shift to the other arm. Feeling symmetry as we come through center. And then front plank. Excellent. From front plank, we're going to go to a reverse shoulder stand and then back to front plank. For those of you that are new, it might seem like I'm saying something off, but I am saying what I mean. If I say something wrong, Sam's going to tell me I've said it wrong, and she'll correct me before y'all do. We're going to do that in both directions, from front plank to a reverse shoulder stand, back to front plank. Meeting in a front plank. We're going to take a hand-to-hand grip. In that hand-to-hand grip, we're going to come to either we're going to step to a back plank, or you're going to go through baby hand-to-hand and then to back plank. We'll all meet in a back plank and back plank. Let's see, Bryce and Janice, yeah, hand-to-hand grip, better. Excellent. And from back plank, we're going to rotate to a shoulder stand and then all the way to back plank again. Back plank, shoulder stand, back plank. Not a reverse shoulder stand, yes, twist to a shoulder stand. Excellent. And we'll do that in both directions as well. From back plank, shoulder stand, back plank. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Kira, I want your abs to be sore tomorrow. Thank you much. From there, flyers, you're going to take a look at your toes, and you're going to keep your eyeballs on your toes the whole time. Now, if you can't see your hips, you're too piked. Natasha, you're too piked. So come into a straight position, but try to keep your eyeballs on your toes. Bring your hands overhead and take a hand-to-hand grip, but don't lose sight of those toes. Keep your eyes on those toes the whole time and step to start. That was okay, but not great. So let's try again. Let's step back to back plank. Put your eyes on your toes, even in star. Step to back plank, and then step back to star. Eyeballs on the toes. And then once we're in star, we're going to twist to a front plank. And then rotate back up to star and back to front plank. There are a number of ways to do this. And generally, we go through a lot of them. So take some time right now and see how many different ways you can go from front plank to star, front plank to star, front plank to star. And when I say front plank, side stars are fine in that vocabulary also. And the basic format is that we can step across the front of the body or behind the body of our flyer. We can do it with an internal rotation or an external rotation. We can do it to either hip. And so there are a lot of different variations that we can move from. Most people work in about 4 to 6 different variations. Nice. That's you. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And we'll all meet in star. I lied. Let's go to front plank. Meeting in front plank. In front plank, let's go to shoulder stand. From shoulder stand, let's go to a reverse back plank. Not a back plank, Aaron and Jill, a reverse back plank. From reverse back plank, we're going to come to a reverse low foot to hand. Tyler and Riley, you're getting it. You got it, you got it, you got it. And from reverse low foot to hand, back to front plank. And then let's do that again. Front plank, shoulder stand, reverse back plank, reverse low foot to hand to front plank. Also called a Catherine's wheel by many people. Front plank, shoulder stand, reverse back plank, reverse low foot to hand to front plank. After you've done 300,000 of those, we'll meet in a front plank, take a hand-to-hand grip, and now we'll rotate to star. And in star, we will attempt to go free. In our free star, for those of us that feel comfortable in it, for those that want a little extra support, maintain hand connection. And for those of us in our free star, we can start to work our arms up by our hips and our legs together. With our arms by our hips and our legs together, some of us may even try to bring our arms behind our back, holding onto opposite wrists, forearms, or elbows. And once we're there, we're going to bring our legs to a tuck. And from tuck, we'll then bring our legs to a pike. From pike, we open up to a straddle. And from straddle, we go back to straight. And we're going to do that a few times. Tuck, pike, straddle, straight. Tuck, pike, straddle, straight. Very nice. Very, very nice. Excellent. We then will bring our arms as flyers out to a T, trying to bring our arms parallel to the ground as much we can, as best we can. And then we're going to tap our right foot to our right hand. Try not to bring the hand to the foot, but really try to bring the foot to the hand. And we'll tick-tock that on either side, right foot to right hand, left foot to left hand, one at a time. Trying to keep the arms in one place, just moving the legs. And then we'll go diagonally. So right foot to left hand, comes across the body. Again, as best we can, we try to keep our, diagonal connection point. You good? Yeah. Okay.
Nice. Oh.
Excellent. Then let's bring our legs to a tuck, flyers, and extend just one leg at the knee. So keep the knees together, we'll just extend one leg. And then you're gonna kick switch to the opposite one. Extend one, bend the other, extend the other, bend one. Kick switch back and forth, I don't know, half dozen times or so. Try to keep the knees together as best we can. And then with one leg extended, we'll move one foot at a time into our foot to hand. In our foot to hand, we're going to be here for a minute, so get comfy. We'll start off with some stair steppers, or maybe we'll just extend one arm at a time. So bases, this will be just on base flyers, this will be just on one side, where a flyer will shift their weight to one side and you will extend and bend just one side over and over. After that feels comfortable, you'll extend one side and flyers will step into that, and you'll extend the second side, coming down on one side and then coming down on the second. Flyers focusing on keeping the weight in the arm that's not moving or in your leg that's not moving. And then after that, we'll play with our pistons, which are exceptionally difficult, where we are constantly keeping weight in both sides symmetrically, and we are extending one as the other is bending. We should attempt to not hit an extension without the opposite elbow on the ground. We want to hit extension and elbow touching at the same time on opposite sides. It's a complicated coordination and should be working the flyer's legs and the base's arms at all moments. There should be no moment of weightless rest. And then we'll come to an extended foot to hand. Flyers will come to a squat. If you want bases, you can bring up a leg, and flyers, you can hold onto a foot to stabilize this squat position. And then flyers are going to shift to one side and extend the opposite leg. And then shift to the second side. After it comes back to extension, bases will extend both arms, and flyers will shift to the second side and extend the first leg. Jay and Danielle, that's looking cleaner and cleaner though. Yeah. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I just want to remind everyone to just kind of take notes in the back of your head if there's anything that you want reviewed after this sequence. Just kind of remember, oh, the squats and foot to hand. Let's talk about that later. All right. From there, flyers will stand up, bring their arms behind their back, yep. And with our arms behind our back, flyers, we will dive again into star. Very nice, very nice. Kelly and Eric, that was baller. From there, we'll take a hand-to-hand grip. With that hand-to-hand grip, flyers are going to attempt to keep their legs together and swan dive to a reverse front plank. You can also press this through a hand-to-hand or through a baby hand-to-hand. And then you'll step back to star. And as we step back to star, again, we're going to try to keep our legs together. And we're going to drive through the heels flyers, but really think I'm going to do this in the back arch. So really peel the feet back, expose the hips. And then let's see, Bryce, you may bend your elbows a little bit and get Janice's arms a little bit longer there and see if you can get more strength through their arms. And then Janice, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're pushing down into Bryce's shoulders. Don't push it back over Bryce's head. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, one more time to a reverse front plank. Again, you can step it, you can press it, however you desire. Going from star to reverse front plank. And then we'll rotate to reverse star. Nice, Matt and Athena. Beautiful work. Good patience, everyone. Really solid physical communication with everyone. In our reverse star, we're going to play with monolimb reverse star. Monolimb reverse star attempts to bring two arms to one leg. Some of us are in star, we should be in reverse star. As we bring two arms to one leg, we're going to release the inside arm, attempt to bring it up to our hip, and then release the outside arm and attempt to bring it up to our hip. Jill, that is a much lower grip than I see most flyers, whatever works for you, but I do see most flyers bring that grip higher. And then some of us are working on no grip at all, being in a free reverse star or a free monolimb reverse star. And so play with whatever variations of reverse star are your appropriate challenge today. Nice. Very nice. Erica, move your arm away from Kayvon's legs slower. Yeah. Hayden needs some chalk. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Just another moment. Some of us are working our free and our free monolimb. I'm going to give them an opportunity to play with that. Excellent. From there, let's come from reverse star to throne. I know, it's like so straightforward, people get confused. Can it really just be that? Yes, it can really just be that. Excellent, excellent, excellent. From throne. So from throne, we're going to rotate to an inside star. Inside star is defined by the flyer and base should be facing each other. And the flyer's head should be between the base's legs. One tip I'll say is that flyers, if you really lead with your top shoulder into that rotation, you're going to help come around because it is quite a rotation. Go ahead and give it a couple of tries. Some of us are going to need to work a little bit of math here. From throne to an inside star. Chris and Patty, you ended up in a reverse inside star. Yeah, Jay and Danielle, that looked great. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Chris and Porkchop, you ended up in an outside star. Excellent, excellent, excellent. From inside star, we're going to go croc side one. Crocodile, croc. Gut lever. Ovary to elbow, whatever you want to call it. From croc side one, we're going to go croc side two. Through biceps, in feet. From croc side two, back into biceps and feet. And biceps and feet are going to come through the base's legs to a reverse back plank on hands. Anything worth doing is worth doing backwards. So, flyer's arms will come out, base will bring feet to those biceps, and flyers will tuck back through into the inversion. From there, we're going to go again back to the biceps and feet. Callan, see if you can get really those hands on the shins, get your grip involved. Yeah, back to the reverse back plank on hands. And then this time you have the option of going back the way you came, so you can tuck back through, or if the bases bring the toes to the outsides of the triceps by the deltoids, you can go up and over backwards into biceps and feet. So you can go either direction from biceps and feet to reverse back plank on hands. And don't worry, we're almost done. We'll get our fireballs in. Don't you worry, don't you worry. And we'll take a moment of complication and rest in a croc and go from croc to tuck sit, which is a complicated transition because it's quite compressed. Yeah, I like it that way. From our tuck sit, we're going to go baby hand to hand. From tuck sit to baby hand to hand to back plank. Rest for a minute. Not y'all, just Sam. and Kelly, you can rest, and Patty, you can rest. Let others catch up. Excellent. Okay, so from back plank, let's look at it again. We're going to take an underhand grip hand to hand. That's going to bring us into a tuck sit. From tuck sit, we're going to go baby hand to hand. Baby hand to hand, back plank. And then do it again. Reverse fireball. Back plank, underhand grip hand to hand. Baby hand to hand, back plank. And since that can be difficult, I'm gonna ask for people to do it the other way. So now let's go overhand grip. And in our overhand grip, we're gonna get into our baby hand much easier. And from baby hand to hand, then we go tuck sit, which is hard. And from tuck sit to back plank, which is also very hard. Very, very hard. And then let's do that again. And for those of you that feel like, you know, I'm just not getting enough of a workout in a fireball, you can do this in a pike, or you can do this laid out, and you could do it as a fire spike or a fire pike, and go again from back plank to baby hand to hand, tuck sit to back plank. Do that 3 times, and then we can do a walk over the base's head for a dismount. Good. That's our calibration sequence. It changes a little bit week to week, but it's largely the same, and we use that just as a way to calibrate with each other. Go through a lot of different musculature and ranges of motion, and then we feel synchronized with each other at the end of that. Or, like, we want to rip their flesh off. One of the two. One of the two. Either way, and you're successful. Because connection. Connection. Any questions there? Yeah, Chris and Pork Chop.
I could just use some clarification on at the end on the fireballs. You were talking about 2 different hand grip options, and I only have one that my brain knows how to do.
All right, so if I'm in a back plank, I simply have underhand grip or overhand grip. Either way, you get to a hand-to-hand grip. So just in your back plank, under, over. Cool. Callum, what you got?
From the last thing we just did, from back plank to baby hand to hand, I feel like I'm stuck either by being piked or I can't get my hips stacked for a baby hand to hand, or like over, however it's supposed to be done.
Okay, we can take a look at that. Erica, Kayvon, I'll get to you in a second, but Davide, you have a question, Davide? Oh, okay, Erica, I'm with you then. Hit your space bar to unmute.
The reverse star to throne.
From reverse star, oh, sure. Okay. And then Chris and Patty?
Thrown to inside side star to croc.
Excellent. We're gonna leave that one because we're gonna get to that a little bit later, but cool. Anything else? Okay, so let's take a look at both of those. Let's take a look at going, and we'll give you some time to play with both of those things. One, which is going to be from reverse star to throne. And this one shouldn't take too long. We'll look at some technique to that, really just looking to see how we can change our shape as a flyer, moving from an inverted to an upright position without losing balance that still exists in the shoulder that's still connected. And we'll just look at how to maintain that. And then we'll look at stacking into our baby hand to hand. So looking first back, going from a reverse star. they take a reverse hand-to-hand grip. And with the reverse hand-to-hand grip, they're going to establish one shoulder that doesn't connect anymore, and then that's the one that's going to catch the hamstring for the throne. And so Sam does the best that she can to keep the hips high and not let the hips come forward. So it's a strong extension of the abdominals while the legs are rotating down. We'll take a look at that one more time. So the hips try to stay over the shoulders as the legs come down. Base makes connection with the ball of the foot at the hamstring, and then base will bend the knee underneath the hamstring of the flyer while the arms are extending to bring the flyer to an upright position. Make sense? Cool. And then looking at back plank to a baby hand-to-hand, the things that we want to look at are to make sure that the feet are in the right place in relation to, will you lie down for a moment? And so we have a couple of things, is that essentially we have like this distance here that we're looking at, which is where the base is going to be delivering the flyer and where the base is going to be receiving the flyer. And if this is really far away, it's very difficult for the flyer to get on top of the receiving. And so the delivery legs want to make sure that they are getting the extension up and over what it's being delivered onto. And so that would be the first thing that I'd look at to see if the struggle is existing, just because we're losing the stack in the legs in the direction away from the arms. Go ahead.
Into a baby hand.
Yeah, it was back plank to baby hand-to-hand, correct? Yeah. And so right there, there's a couple of things that we can look at to mitigate. You can come down. So it was a little far away. So the legs were forced to go back away from the base's arms slightly. And there's a couple of things that we can do. One thing we can do to the flyers, we can walk up their back a little bit and shorten that distance. But we have a limit there where we're going to start to lose comfort for the flyer. And so at a certain point, we may have to also employ the bending of the base's elbows a little bit as the weight comes in. And that's going to help keep the weight stacked over center without letting the arms and legs get pushed away from each other with the tension of the flyer. So let's take a look at that one more time.
You're talking about starting higher here.
Yeah, you could walk it up there and then that would shorten the distance. And my preference would be to really find the place where it's most comfortable for the flyer and then look for modifications from there, as long as the arms are strong enough to bend a little bit as it comes in and then extend once the weight comes on. And so Chris is very sensitive with his arms that it's like, oh, I don't have enough tension in the arms because my flyer feels a little bit compromised here. And so there's this very subtle bend and it brings tension into the arms. And then as soon as that happens, the legs are reinforcing that by pouring the weight over. The elbows then extend to recoil that the flyer has something to push back into. And that's where balance is established, is where that tension meets tension. Make sense? Great. So we'll take a few minutes and you can play with those two things, either going from your reverse star to throne or going from your back plank to a baby hand-to-hand. And in that vein, you can play with anything within that vein. You can refine anything you need to in your reverse star, your monolimb reverse star. You can also work on any of the fireballs in either direction. Pork chop and Chris, you can practice your overhand, underhand grips and look at it in either direction. W-Day, I'll get to you, and I'm going to say that y'all can go practice now, and then anyone that wants to ask other questions, stick around, and we'll answer questions or show additional demos. But y'all can go practice in 3, 2, 1. All right, great. We're going to look at next going from that throne to the inside star. I'm going to fly.
Curveball.
Throw a curveball. We'll see if I can fly this. They're much more calibrated with each other. So we're going to start off in a throne. Can we go a little bit more medium?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And in throne, we're going to come to one side, and then I need to get all the way around to an inside star. So in this moment here, I still have my leg hooked, which stabilizes me on the first leg, and my shoulder is leading my all the way to the diagonal across my base on the other side. So that if my shoulder is in that position during that turn, when I release my leg from the grip that we first started with, it unfurls into a neutral basis foot position into this inside star. Let's take a look at it again. Is that good for you?
Mm-hmm. Not meeting.
So in throne, shift to one side. I can even brace myself to stabilize here. I turn and I bring my hand down the leg, and then I keep my connection to the first foot in the bind, and I take my top shoulder and I bring it diagonally across my base, this shoulder. As that happens, then when I release the grip, we end up in our inside star. Cool? Any questions there?
Yeah.
One more time. Yeah, we'll show it again. Excellent. Any questions? All right. So it is this top shoulder that I'm really leading this with. If I think the bottom shoulder, I tend to dip low, but if I bring the top shoulder across, I tend to keep my chest more lifted.
As far as what I'm thinking about, it's the base. It's without the flyer doing what Lux is describing right now. It's really difficult for the base to get their foot into the right position for that inside star. So I'm externally rotating my foot as much as I humanly can. I'm really only making contact with the heel, and in a way, I'm almost using his body to. I'm driving, not driving, but I'm pressing my heel into him a little bit, and then using that to even increase my active flexibility a little more.
And really look at where Chris places the foot on the hip and what part of Chris's foot he places on the hip. So he's not going for the toes, really looking at the heel being the part that we're pivoting around. So bases, watch those details. Heel, helping with that rotation, and I lead over the shoulder. Clear? Clear? Great. Excellent, excellent. Again, if you have any questions, please let us know and we'll help you out. But give it a shot.
Yeah, I think this one can be a little psychologically scary. Both the bases get ready to catch their flyer, the flyer can fall. But you can even use the top arm, the arm that's towards the ceiling, to reach down towards the base. If you're just kind of mapping this out, you want an extra point of support while you figure out the whole opening of the chest and the shoulder blades rotating backwards and all that. So feel free to use another point of support.
This next one is a bit of a tangent. It doesn't really have to do much with what we're doing tonight, except for that we were playing with it the other day, and Sam and I both had like sore arms for days, and we just don't want y'all to miss out on that fun. And so we want to give you an opportunity to also really get that soreness. So we recommend 25 of these. I'd say 25 of these should really get it. Riley, that's upside down. You need to turn that the other way. That's what you meant. Yeah. If you're up doing a handstand, that makes total sense. So this one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few variations. The first one, let's do where you just come to the ground.
From thighs.
From the thighs, yeah. So we're going to sit thighs on forearms, and the flyer's going to reach overhead and bring the hands to the heels and the forearms across the toes. From there, flyer's going to come into a tuck. Base can, of course, help that, and the flyer is going to then start to open up, and then maybe just come to the ground right by the base's hips. So that would be variation one, just to flip and come to the ground by the base's hips. Let's look at that one more time.
Really think about relaxing your toes.
Sure. Yeah, bases want to relax the toes here because it can be quite intense on the flyer's forearms. It really is as little tension as we can, just enough to maintain the grip. But the foot is quite strong, so if the base is trying to really extend there or curl with the toes, it's likely that you can either dig your feet into the forearm of the flyer or even pop the grip right off the heel. So we want to be gentle with our feet to not be stronger than our flyer's grip. If you have that, you can then start to play with different variations. We can take this into an extended, do we have one that doesn't go to front plank on hands? We're just going front plank on hands.
Yeah, in
Great.
the extension or the ball?
Let's do ball first. And so we can then maintain this ball position for the flyer, and the base is going to tuck the arms through that tuck and come to the hips, and we'll end up in our front plank on hands. And then as that gets comfortable, we can do this as a layout where we are doing the tuck for as short a time as possible and really moving from this position into our layout as quickly as possible. So pike, extension, and come down with our hips open into that position. And so we want to give everyone that pullover opportunity. It is rare in this practice that we get to do very much pulling. It's something that in our writing we've been playing with a lot more, is trying to find opportunities to bring pulling into this practice. And so here's one where we get to play with a little bit of pull, a little bit of inversion, and rotation, which are like, you know, a trifecta of fun in at least our books. and Riley really loves this one also. So hopefully the rest of y'all enjoy it as much as Riley does and as much as we do. Let us know if you have any questions. And play. 3, 2, 1. And then we'll just front plank. Come on, hands.
Yeah, that's so nice. I was wondering, is it a timing thing to get that pike up? Like up and through?
There's, you know, there's a moment where if my weight is this way, it's very challenging for my abdominals. Once my hips go past parallel to the ground and start to move up, and the legs are leading that pike, then the arms start to get a lot stronger, and I'm not so efforted in that. I'll do it slow motion. So this is work. This is a lot less work. And then I can extend from here much easier than if I'm here. This is much more work to get to that extension. Once I'm in extension, I just really present them forward, and it's a huge amount of biceps to slow down that transition into the front plank. I'm just really burning through this to slow it down. Awesome. Again, this was just a tangent. We'll now get back to our regularly scheduled program. Our regularly scheduled program a moment ago went from a throne to an inside star, right? Remember that? We haven't smoked our memories away too much? Okay, good. Some of us remember that. No judgments, Aaron. We get it. And now we're just going to take that and move from a throne to a croc. Yeah. So very similar. Oh, and we're going to look at some technique that is going to help get onto that croc. Yeah, I am going to base this. So from throne, we're going to do a very similar setup. And the flyer is going to reach all the way across with the, not the close arm, but the far arm. And they're going to make a connection biceps to foot. From there, I'm actually going to take and free my foot and rotate it parallel to the thigh. And I'm going to take and I'm going to lift the hips up and over my other foot as it scoops underneath. And my flyer is bringing that elbow into their gut at the same time. So it is it's at least a 3-part, if not a 4-part effort to get into there. Actually, I think this diagonal is going to be good.
Sorry about keeping the camera.
Because I want them to see your arm here, get to the bicep. And Sam is really pushing into my leg here to create some space and tension. And then again, I'm going to take and I'm going to rotate parallel, and I'm going to lift the hips up and over my receiving leg, and I bend underneath, and then I extend it. So that moment where the foot goes from the hamstring and has to pivot is exactly where the flyer is pushing into the arm, which gives just enough reprieve from that connection point so that I can move that foot without tearing the hamstring with it, or like feeling like it's grinding across. Make sense? Relatively simple? It's not. This is a lot of fine control. And so take your time with it, and particularly flyers, communicate to your bases if that is moving in a good part, or if it feels like, oh, you're digging into something that feels like it's very nervy, and we may have to make a shift a centimeter or so in a direction. So, so take your time with it, and really don't just take what your bases are giving to them or giving to you. Really communicate back to your bases, because for us, it's going to feel as bases, it doesn't hurt the bottom of our foot. Kelly and Eric, and Chris and Porkchop, I'll show it again. Kelly and Eric, what do you got?
I just want to see it again from a different angle. I can't really tell what your receiving foot is doing, or the helping foot.
The helping foot. Okay, sure. Let's see here. I'm gonna try here.
Yeah.
Drone. I don't think they're going to see that. So this is the foot that you need to see. So this is the delivery foot. You want to see the delivery or the receive?
Delivery.
So the delivery is going to push up and over the receive. And there is that follow through. I'm bringing it all the way around. You want to see it from the butt side?
Flyers, you may be very familiar with the press up and over to croc. This is not what this feels like. You want the base to deliver you over there. We're really trying to give the bases the practice with that foot. So if you're working really hard, make them do more.
Make the bases do more. So you won't see the footwork, but you will see how it goes up and over the receiving leg. And you just let us know. We will show it in as many angles as you want. But we'll give those of you that have that feel like you have the mechanics of it an opportunity to go practice. For those of you that want to try it a few times and then say, hey, I need to see it again, feel free to just interrupt us. We'll look at it again and again.
Nice job, Chris and Patty.
3, 2, 1. For those of you that haven't gone, but most of you have.
While the base is getting that foot placement, really push into the croc arm with both arms to keep yourself lifted and in, so the base has a lot of time and stability while they're moving their delivering foot around.
Is my foot still hooked at that time of pushing in? Because it kind of feels like that impedes.
No, you'll want to unhook it so that your thigh is, the outside of your thigh is actually accessible to them to move around.
Sam, are you pushing down into that foot then? Is that what you're not pushing?
Yeah. I'm pushing down into the croc arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Take a look.
This organization.
It's just too much.
Lots of camera.
Run.
I'm wrapped. I get the croc I want. I'm now stable, so I can unwrap my legs, and I'm pushing down into Chris's leg here so that my hip is a little bit higher and he can shift his toes comfortably.
Got it.
Make sense?
Thank you.
Of course. Again, Sam is pushing down here, releases the legs, which gives Chris the opportunity to rotate on the thigh and then extend it up and over the receiving leg.
Yeah, the toe shift definitely helps. Makes it a little smoother, but I feel like the majority of what I'm doing is delivering with the heel. It makes it more stable with the toes, but
I have a question about that. So the
Kelly, I'll get to you in a second. Go ahead, Rochelle.
the receiving foot,
the one in the forearm, the elbow crease. We're having a hard time getting the weight into it in the proper angle to help piston the legs to transfer the weight over.
Do you also bring the croc leg in?
The croc, yes, yeah. I'm bringing my heels to kind of meet each other because, yeah. Let's do one more from this end.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, and really, we're looking at a slight external rotation that then goes quite neutral quickly.
So pause here. So right now my feet are pretty spread apart. There's about 6-8 inches of separation between my two heels, and so now I'm already starting to bring. Oops, I'm trying to rotate actually.
And so the two external rotation here, and then the receiving leg then starts to go internally rotated to get to a neutral position at that point.
Yeah, that wasn't the best demo that I just did, but my heels are definitely coming together as I'm stacking my delivering foot over my receiving foot.
Yeah. Okay. So the next piece we're going to look at is going to move from our croc to a sacrum balance. And this is a little strange transition that we had a lot of fun playing with the other day.
So from our croc, Chris and I are going to take a reverse hand-to-hand grip. I'm going to lift up and through to an outside sacrum balance.
It's quite nice, right? So it's a little strange. As you're coming through, as I started doing this, I was like, oh, I'm going to come through and I'm going to go to the diagonal shoulder that I'm coming off of, which feels quite natural. And what didn't feel natural, which is what we need, is that we're going to come through and we're going to turn 180 degrees to face this way to catch the sacrum. And so it's a big rotation when you come off of your croc and show your sacrum to your base. But this will give the base a really good opportunity to get to that sacrum. Whereas if you turn the way that it naturally feels like you should turn, it's very difficult for the base to get the sacrum connection. So let's take a look at it again and look at how the two of them use that reverse hand-to-hand grip to get a little bit of extra height in the hips for the base's foot. Not yet. Not yet.
And this press is very similar to the one we do in the warm-up, where we go from a bicep stand to the reverse front plank on hands. It's just on one side instead. So I'm gonna lift up and then press myself up as his foot swoops in.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that one last time for those of us that need it again. And then we'll show it with support.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, one thing I'm doing is I am helping scoop her hips up by trying to make contact with her sacrum while it's still pretty vertical, where I can't actually support it or really do anything with it yet. But as it's swinging through, I'm already starting to push into her sacrum to help scoop her hips into horizontal. Right now, oops, except.
That was even soon.
Yeah, that time I overthought it.
Yeah.
But as she's swinging down, I'm already making contact before the swing and then adding my lift to her swing.
And partially what happened there is my shoulder's getting tired, so we'll show you with support also.
Yeah. So this will, if you do this a few times, it's likely that your shoulder will start to fatigue. And so as we press off of that shoulder, the base can take a hold of those shins and help scoop them through as they bring their foot to the sacrum. And that does a ton to support this transition. And also, one of the things that we will feel as flyers as we're bringing our legs through and trying to come into this is like, oh, my head is going to dive backwards behind me. And this taking of the shins and giving that additional support will make it feel a lot more stable to open up in a very vulnerable position that the flyers need to find to be able to give the base an opportunity to reach the sacrum. So let's take a look at that again.
You can do it even more.
Even more.
So reaches early, even as it, like before it even came off of the croc, he was able to come across and give some support to the shins. And then that gives space during the base's extension, gives enough space for the base to also see the sacrum of the flyer, where the foot's gonna come in. And so that should give us more time to really suspend the animation in that moment, evaluate what we need to do, and then get to the next landmark. Make sense? All right, I'm so excited to see y'all do this. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, quick question. Are you, when you're coming through the rotation over the croc, are you leaning slightly over the croc arm? Or are you just like in a press in between?
I'm trying to make it as symmetric as possible. You know, the arms are doing different things, but I'm trying to center my weight as I come through.
You're going through the middle.
Yeah, and it is a press off of that croc. You are, you know, leveraging off of the biceps to create that space.
Yeah. It's much more of like in a bicep stand where I'm like pressing to the side, where I'm like swooping through. I'm not still in a croc position.
Okay, thank you.
What we're going to do now is we're going to look at a transition that will simply start from a back plank on feet to a reverse biceps and hands. And we're going to take that and make it incrementally a little bit more difficult over the next couple of rounds. So from the beginning, it's quite simple. We'll use the length of your legs rather than the lack of length in mine. Yeah, just a reverse bicep stand and hands. That's version 1. One more time. Back plank. Rather than taking a hand-to-hand grip, it's going to reach for the biceps. Come into the inversion.
And you may have noticed it or not, but in this bicep stand, in the reverse bicep stand, if I am really flat, I risk hyperextending the base's wrist. So I'm really trying to stay vertical, lifted in that so that my weight is more on the wrist and not the fingers.
And in that one in particular, the bases do have the ability to keep it quite steep. This is a pretty comfortable place for the base's wrist. They can keep it steep, and my arm can conform to that without it sacrificing my ability to stay vertical. Coming off this way is probably the most dangerous moment. As I come down, I could hyperextend, so I'm really pushing through my arms and trying to lift my biceps away from the hands as I dismount in this direction to preserve my base's wrists. From that, we can do the same thing, but rather than going from 2 feet, we're going to do right from the sacrum to foot balance that we were just in. And we've played with this both with an internal and an externally rotated foot on the sacrum. Both of them work, so if one of them feels a bit more comfortable for you, use that one. You don't need to go internal if external is more comfortable or vice versa. So we want to take just a minute and play with those 2 transitions, either from a symmetrical back plank on feet or from the 90-degree sacrum to foot into the reverse biceps in hands. Carolyn Hayden, yeah?
We can't see you.
Can't see. You lost your video, Lux.
Oh. Details, details, details. It's so funny. My video works fine even when my video doesn't work. So, was that a good enough audio description? You guys got it all? How about we look at it again?
Did I mess it up by playing with this?
No, the phone need to be touched.
Oh, gosh.
So, did you see the one that comes off of back plank? Okay, so let's just look at the one that comes off of the sacrum to foot. So the sacrum to foot again could come from an internally or an externally rotated foot, and then it's just going to try to come off of the one foot into the reverse biceps and hands.
For those of you who are curious, we're doing that from an outside sacrum balance, which is the sacrum balance we were just in the previous transition. But you can practice this from like a regular inside sacrum balance if that feels more comfortable.
Inside is a little more comfortable for the base, a little easier too.
Any questions? Okay, great. Give it a shot. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we're going to look at just one last transition. That's all we got time for. We'll have to pick up the rest of it next week. Actually, this will be most of it. We could look at one last thing. But what we have here is we're in this position, and the base grabbed the flyer's biceps. And, you know, that's somewhere around like this part of the ribs where the elbow hits there. And so what we're going to try to do now is we're going to do the same transition, but rather than only stopping where the elbow hits around the ribs, is we're going to reach all the way down and try to see if we can get to the hips, to a reverse front plank on hands. And so it's quite a distance to still go. You got like this much still to go. And you don't have the luxury of having the flyer's arms help the anchor quite the same way. And there's a very challenging, awkward moment where the base is looking at this transition, and all they can see is the chest of the flyer. And they're just working their hardest to not grab the chest of the flyer is really quite a challenge in this next transition. And you have to be really patient and bypass it and wait and wait and wait. And you end up like using your forearms on the sides of the flyer to slow them down as this transition happens. And so as you watch the demo, look for all those things. Look for how Chris is going to use the arms on the outside of the flyer's torso to slow down the transition as it reaches all the way past the torso for the hips. Check it out.
I do this, I did it wrong.
Do you want to do from back balance first?
Yeah, we can do this symmetrically from the back balance, from our back plank, where both feet are on the hips, and we'll go straight up and over. And the flyer can slow down by holding onto the base's arms. And this one is a great way to really calibrate and get that transition, because when we do it just from one leg, it just feels like quite a bit further. So off of two legs again, we bypass the chest, go past the ribs, go past the abdominals, all the way to the hips.
I'm really.
I knew that.
God, I kicked him like twice this week already.
Yes. I saw that one coming. I was fine.
Yes.
I'm really pushing into Chris's arms as I come down to slow myself and to create more lift.
Yeah, and not only is Sam pushing with the arms to slow it down, but Sam's also really lifting the legs to help them not come down quickly onto the base's hands. So it is an upper body exercise for the flyer and a lower body resistance to gravity on the way down.
Okay, so we're gonna show this now from the outside sacrum balance. We have a little bit less clearance in that setup, and so we're actually gonna either over rotate a little or under rotate a little bit so that my face can go by Chris's side, because I need like another inch right now.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
And on my legs, like, it's very difficult because they're not very long, and Sam is just like smearing like across my torso as this happens. So going a little bit of the diagonal where the head can clear the ribs of the base is advantageous. So the rotation happens, base can even use the foot to help rudder that, and then again, really just patiently waiting, bypassing, and then ending up in this reverse front plank. It is a massive patience game. Bases, you're gonna think it can't come quick enough, and flyers are not gonna want it to come any faster.
One thing that I don't know, I'm curious to hear what Sam thinks about this, but I feel like we're starting to communicate a little more non-verbally. If I touch with my fingers here, just on the sides, and then I kind of spider them down towards her hips, and she knows, like, if my fingers are only here, she knows she can't give up and stop pushing in my arms yet. She needs to feel me down here on her hips to know that she can commit to the bird arm hands.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Did anybody need to see anything again? Chris, pork chop?
Yeah, can we see the sacrum balance version, like from us looking at your heads?
Yeah. So turn your head this way then.
Looking at Chris's head?
No, like heads towards the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine. I saw it.
Let your legs will straddle as you come in.
Yeah, this really helps because we only have so much internal rotation as bases. I'm really using my left foot as a rudder to help at least get her oriented to me.
And again, this is where we just tap the ribs so that we give the flyer a landmark of where they are in space and crawl down to the hips for the reverse front plank on hands.
And that over rotation I'm talking about is kind of subtle, but I'm just looking a little bit to Chris's side so that my face is kind of clearing his chest.
Yeah. Any other questions? Rochelle, did you get your tickets worth today? You got good laughs in today. Yeah, that's great. All right, we only have a few minutes, so go ahead, give it a shot, and use all of those landmarks, use all of your communication tools, resist in multiple directions at the same time, work slowly, patiently, in good communication, have fun, love each other. 3, 2, 1. That was fun. thank you all so much. That was a really phenomenal time, not only for us to work together and observe, and I got to listen to them talk more tonight, which is just, again, really great diagnosticians, and it has been phenomenal to work with them, but really to watch every one of us go through the process of not only the calibration sequence, but looking at solving the puzzles of each one of these pieces as they're given to us. And each person has kind of a different flavor of how they're approaching it. And we're really loving that spectrum of conversation that we're seeing across the screens. So beautiful job, everyone. Great communication, great physicality, and generally speaking, great smiles on everyone. So thank you all so much. Your practice is beautiful to watch, and we're really grateful that you're sharing it with us. We hope to see you all every week. Each week we're gonna have new complicated things to work on and make sure that you can have a little bit of soreness for a few days during your week, which is really like, you know, at least for me, how I get through my week well. So take a moment and do thank your partners, thank your bases, thank your flyers, thank you flyer, and thank you base. Thank you. And again, reach out if you have questions throughout the week. We're super happy to participate in your practice beyond the 2 hours that we are formally here in this time-constrained place. We have additional that we can participate in. So reach out, please. With that, tell your friends, tell your parents' friends. We are stoked to see you and grateful that you're participating, and hope to see you again soon.
Good night, good morning.
Have a great night. Nice to see you, Kat.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie, for listening in.